I'm Dorian, or Leviathan to my friends, and I'm an Eldritch abomination lurking in the corners of your attic. I'm also one of those artists that has a million Pinterest boards, mostly D&D characters I will never do anything with. I asked other absolutely insane individuals in my Patreon server for some cool board suggestions to make into character designs. Artistic burnout is real, and sometimes the only thing that can cure it is making another Blorbo that's going to sit on my shelf collecting dust. I chose 3 boards and one very interesting crow raven painting that turned into this little found family. If I'm truly honest, I didn't set out to make a D&D party with lore, but my too much gene cannot be contained. Designing characters is a lot more fun anyways when you're invested in their well-being a little too much. This very sweet and definitely not Sailor Scout coded character was born pretty much from the simple fact that I've been playing a little too much Baldur's Gate 3 recently. And I've always wanted to make a character with those space buns and braids sort of hairstyle. I find it really cute and it compels me so, and I don't know why. Personally, I really enjoy the trope of a bubbly pink, almost kind of bimbo type character who's just outright chaotic and a menace to society.
And there's a 30% chance that it's already raining.
So the more hopeful but still tough images really stood out to me. If you've been around for a little while, you'll know this is my second time I'm doing this video. I didn't end up really liking it. She honestly looked a little more, pregnant, and there was a little too much of just a spellcaster vibe about her as well. So I completely cut that out. I scrapped the design. And so I decided to incorporate a sparkle sort of a theme to convey those magical qualities about her. Maybe she's one of those wild magic barbarians, I think is what they're called in D&D. I do think she gets into a lot of trouble and does struggle with anger issues, which I know is a typical barbarian trope, but at her core, she does really love people, and I think animals as well. She does really like the other two in her adventuring party. She would do anything for them, almost to sort of fault. With that in mind, I thought that having hearts throughout her design and even hidden within certain aspects would bring that aesthetic out really well. Now, barbarians don't typically wear armor, really. They get disadvantages from wearing heavier armor or even leather armor, I think. So I tried to just lean into this Victorian summer picnic cottagecore vibe, and honestly, very Barbie coded. She's been on the mind lately, not gonna lie. Initially, I wasn't sure how to convey the more brutal side of her nature. In the end, I ended up picking some silk ribbons off of Pinterest and sort of turning them into how boxers would wrap up their hands before fights to try and convey that she's been in a lot of fights, that she's still very much a warrior despite the fact that she is covered in pink and frills. I know it's not practical, but it does get the job done. I ran with that same idea with her shoes as well. Girly is a walking OSHA violation with those open-toed sandals. You'll also see that I ended up giving her an axe rather than a morning star, which was inspired by this image, honestly, because I need a little more practice with weapon design. It also screams coquette core barbarian, you can't deny that. In the end, I would push her design a little more with fashion elements, especially her corset, but I am really happy with the way she turned out. She's very aesthetically pleasing to me, and I love her. This second design, I don't know what possessed me, but once I got it in my head what I wanted to do, I really ran with it, and I had a lot of fun drawing them. Initially, I wanted to make them more of a gloomy character. They are still in my head a Shadar Kai, which you'll see why later, but they ended up being in like this weird biblically accurate angel category, or like some sort of weird eldritch monstrosity. Bloodborne and Dark Souls and Elden Ring are a big inspiration for me. FromSoft games are my entire life for the most part. My first hurdle was trying to incorporate some sort of weird abstraction into their design, since the original bird in the painting was pretty much an exploded Bethesda character model.
That's not classic Bethesda. I can't even call it a bug.
And I think I conveyed that pretty well with their mask. Masks to me have always held this like beautiful, uncanny valley to them, which I think fits. What popped into my head was something akin to like Gold Mask from Elden Ring. I've also recently been obsessed with artists using like star symbology for eyes, or even just one of them. It speaks to me. Having crows or ravens in both the board and also within the painting sparked my intense interest in the Raven Queen, who is a goddess of death in the D&D sort of multiverse. I thought they might be some sort of clergy member who was higher up in the order, so I tried to represent that with more ornate details in their mask and with the addition of those pearls, which was also a reference back to the weird like crow amalgamation that I had picked as a reference image. We love a good biblically accurate bird monster here. I thought it might be cool to make their weapon a representation of that high order as well. Maybe the Raven Queen gave some sort of feather to them as a gift, and they made it into some sort of glaive. I do think their party members would be a little weary of how much emphasis they put on their goddess and following her, but they both know that their friend means well, and despite their oddities, they do really care for their other party members. They're the definition of those con moms, you know, the ones who always have snacks and a whole sewing kit stuffed into their purse. Normally, I'm not the biggest fan of cool and warm colors being mixed together, but I think this palette came out nicely somehow. Towards the finishing point, I was flopping back and forth on whether or not I should recolor their more purple robes, and I am glad I left them alone. The color still works really well in my opinion, and there was no way I was gonna go through the pain of coloring that chainmail again. Absolutely not. I did end up forgetting my idea of putting eyes within the feather cloak sort of a thing, and I do think if I revisit their design again, I'd put more of those eyes in. Overall though, I'm really happy with the design, especially the colors and smaller details. I do think I need to make a chainmail brush though. Do love me some metal, but that was my own personal level of hell. I ended up finishing off their design with a happy little sky background to bolster my cloud drawing skills and to make sure that they had a nice place to shine. Tired dads, a staple of D&D parties. There's a whole podcast about them that my husband is absolutely obsessed with. I think it's called Dungeons and Daddies, and I myself am a big fan of older gentlemen. This character was the easiest for me to envision and was a nice little cool down from the far more intricate stuff that I was dealing with from design 2. In the beginning, he was more of this like younger, reckless character that was a jerk but with a heart of gold, but the more I thought about him, the more I became enamored with this idea of a former adventurer being forced out of early retirement to support his family, and perhaps along the way he found one more daughter to take care of, our Sailor Moon Barbarian, and perhaps a potential partner in the Eldritch Raven Queen Cleric. And and I think both of these things are the best thing that ever happened to him aside from his toddler daughter back at home. In my head, he got bitten by a vampire, which was the vibe for the board that was originally sent to me for sure, and he sort of spiraled after that. He thought of himself as a monster and was really afraid of hurting people for a really long time. He lost his previous partner and almost lost his daughter because of it, so I absolutely had to give him the biggest eye bags on the side of the material plane. What's better than a sad divorced dad that can cook? I wanted to incorporate the wine somehow from the board. Something captivated me about the Isle of Broken Bottles, but I wasn't sure how to until I thought about how he would fit into the party. I think he took up cooking so that he could support his young daughter and became a chef for a local tavern, so when he started adventuring again, it was only natural for him to do that for the party. Plus, swords are out and improvised weaponry is in. Obviously, a cast iron skillet is the perfect tool to do the big bad in with. His color palette was definitely more of a spur of the moment sort of a thing, if I'm brutally honest. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with him, especially since I'm of the mind that tieflings can be whatever color you want. As I was looking through my default palettes, I came across this campfire one. It fits his aesthetic really well, and it was super fun to play around with the vibrant colors. If I was to push anything with his design, I would definitely add more embroidery details and showcase the fact that his clothing is a lot more worn and torn. He probably spends a little more time and money on his daughter rather than himself, which I wanted to reflect on his clothes, but maybe next time. I do think they'd be somewhat of a functional D&D party, but they might need another spellcaster or a rogue. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know down in the comments below, and maybe I'll do a round 2 with them in the future. I am really excited to hopefully be doing more character design videos in the future. They're super fun, and I really get to flex my creative muscles, so to speak. Stay tuned next week for an informational video either on commissions or how to run a Patreon or a coffee. I think they both got the same votes in my Patreon Discord, so I'm gonna have to figure out which one I want to do, but stay tuned. And remember to take it easy and don't look inside of your attic. Also, at the time of recording, I'm hosting a Draw This in Your Style and a sticker giveaway over on my Instagram. I recently hit 5K followers, which is just absolutely wild to me, and I wanted to celebrate. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I am excited to see what the future holds. All of the info for that can be found on my Instagram at Saint Maliv. We also have a Patreon where you can find all of our art at high res and a couple days before it gets released on social media. We also have exclusive works in progress, so get early access to all of my videos that I put up, and you can also get a producer credit that's inspired by Soulsborne boss names. You can thank Isabella, Redeemer of Bad Himbos, for that one. Special thank you to Jacques, Herald of the Dark Roast, Meg, Exarch of the Golden Egg, High Artisan Anonymous B, Great Alpha Wolf Squilliam William, Nairuz, Seer of Rosy Mercy, Ghost, Infernal Collector of the Damned, Golden Paladin Court, Isabella, Redeemer of Bad Himbos, Keeper of the Lapin Warren, Robin, Most Royal of all the Rats, Ethereal Consort of House Vicarian, Fungal Sovereign Tass, Exalted Curator Wick, the Under-Elf of Delphinia, Paragon of Starlight, an impossible amount of rat babies, Divine Herald Jordan, Estrella, Sage of the Outer Realms, Wretched Sauce of House Worcestershire, Champion Pallypunk of the Immortal Valley, Tailor of Macabre Coney Livery, Eternal Apostle Austin, the Contingent of Fables, the Eminence of Light, Bunny, Exarch of the Ornate Tomb, Harley the Sanguinous, Grand Overlord Silas, Being of Exalted Sunlight, Delegate of Clan Latiners, Eternal Consul Puja, High Magi Katie, and the Herald of Wrens. Special thank you to Jacques, Herald of the Dark Roast, Meg, Exarch of the Golden Egg, High Artisan Anonymous,